Hello, I'm John Janarone, Editor-in-Chief of IPO Edge, here with our friend Mark Walker, who is a co-founder and CEO of Direct Digital Holdings. This company we have followed closely over the last couple of years, and we're thrilled to have Mark back here in Orlando, Florida at the ICR conference. Mark, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So, Mark, as I was just telling you in the green room, advertising is a complicated business. Can you just explain, anytime I go to a website, what's happening? I'm seeing an advertisement. How does it all work?
Yeah, so in the most simple form of what we do, we help companies buy and sell media, and we use technology to do it. And the analogy I like to give is if you go to a website like USA Today and you actually see an ad on that site, our company actually helps that ad get there. And there's two ways that we do it. One, we help the advertiser actually purchase that ad spot on the site. But what most people don't know is that behind the scenes, that company like USA Today is actually hosting an auction for the attention of your eyeballs at that specific time, and then the highest advertiser, the highest brand actually wins, and then we make a percentage off that ad actually being delivered. So any website you go to, and we represent roughly about 26,000 total publications focused on the multicultural space and also general market, that auction is actually occurring, and our software runs that auction for those sites, and subsequently we help them make money and we make money in the process.
Perfect, great explanation. Now, Mark, you and I have discussed in the past, I think it's important for our viewers to know a bit about your background. So you were at Ebony, so you know this industry. So tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, so to give a little bit of color about my background, I first started off my career actually working at a Fortune, or spent the bulk of my career at a Fortune 300 company running digital media, which you would say is on the buy side of the business, helping that company generate revenue online. And then I went over to Ebony, where I actually helped them with a digital transformation as their COO. So I understood the publisher side of the equation as well, and saw the real opportunity between the experience of working at that Fortune 300 company and at working at Ebony to form Direct Digital Holdings along with my business partner, Keith Smith. So having the buy side and the sell side experience has really helped us in how we structured the business and helped it grow.
Great. Now, Mark, I saw you recently at a conference down in Boca. Well, it's not that far from here.
Yeah, down the street.
Yeah. Now, tell us about how you're different from your competitors. And I think you alluded to it just now. You're focusing on some of these publications that people don't really understand in terms of how much viewership there is, right? It's tremendous.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to our business and how we're actually structuring our focus, it's the multicultural audience that we focus in on. So out of all the impressions that we have, roughly about 20%, 10 to 20% of our media are multicultural audiences. And the way that we describe that is African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, and the LGBTQ community. And what we are geared towards, along with the general market, but what we're geared towards is providing a monetization opportunity specifically for those publications which have had either difficulty connecting into the digital ecosystem, so that they can monetize those eyeballs that actually come to their site with the auction software. So we provide the opportunity for them to get connected. We provide them with the opportunity of hosting that software on their site, and subsequently help them generate revenue as they hopefully grow their audiences and grow their visitors coming to their platform.
Mark, something else that I recall that stands out to me is that you're focusing on some markets that are not as crowded as others, right? So you're not focusing on New York and San Francisco. You're looking at some of these cities that are not quite as big, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the buy side of our business, which is the other segment that we actually have, we have sales forces to provide tech-enabled services in cities that typically people haven't heard of, tier 2, tier 3 media markets. So those would be your Colorado Springs, your Nashville, Tennessee, your Pigeon Forge, your Virginia Beach. Those are the markets. I would say Tulsa, Oklahoma is another one, where people and companies need services and they also need products, but they don't have a lot of opportunities. So we've seen a myriad of success with our buy-side business by focusing on that middle market in those tier 2, tier 3 media markets, and that's why we've been able to grow that segment of our business 10 to 20%, and we've been really happy with the performance.
Mark, I've got to ask you out of personal curiosity. I live in South Florida, obviously. There's an enormous Latino population there. Is that an opportunity for you guys? I mean, I'm seeing I can guarantee you. In fact, I was just speaking to one of our colleagues who reads newspapers from Ecuador. Is there opportunity in places like South Florida where you have a ton of first, second generation Latinos and Latinas?
Absolutely. It's one of those areas where I think the general market, what we have seen as the opportunity is you have a lot of first and second generation immigrants as well as citizens who live in the population that still refer back to their native publications that they actually like to get news and information from. We help monetize those sites here in the United States for those readers so that we can help them generate revenue from those eyeballs and from those populations that actually live inside the United States. The stat that I like to always think about and the opportunity that we see with this growth is that 40% of the U.S. population actually fall within those four segments that I outlined, but yet only 5% of media dollars is actually targeted to it. So we see that arbitrage opportunity or that gap is a real growth opportunity for our company.
Great. Now, Mark, I'm very happy to say that we've covered a great deal of companies that recently went public, and you've had great news the last couple of quarters. Mark, can you tell everybody about that? I mean, I just can't tell you how happy I am to see a company performing well out of the gates.
Yeah, so we went public back in February of 2022, and at that time we were roughly about $38 million of top line revenue. End of last year, we hit about $89 to $90 million of top line growth, which is a significant amount of growth, and we were able to beat and raise expectations with the way that the business has actually performed. This year, we were able to raise and beat guidance, and we're projected to be somewhere in the guidance we've given is 170 to 190 million in top line revenue growth. So with that, we've been able to grow, and I think the market has finally started catching up with our story. And also we removed some level of overhang from warrants that we were able to retire as well, which we think actually has benefited the growth story as well. So we've been really excited about where we've been and looking hopefully for a good 2024 as well.
Makes sense. So you reduce that dilution risk if you want to freak out about it.
Yeah,
makes
the
sense.
Dilution risk, the level of growth that we've been able to have, we think it's really been a benefit story for our shareholders.
Great. Now, I think you announced some new collaborations and partnerships last year. Can you tell everyone about that?
Yeah, so we recently just started working with Amazon, specifically their publisher network, so that we connected their software technology into our platform. That's going to allow us to be able to onboard a significant amount of tier one partners in a relatively easy and efficient way. So we have a few that are in beta that we haven't announced yet, but we're excited about that opportunity, and hopefully that will help fuel our growth within 2024.
Now, Mark, you might remember when I was at that conference in Boca, I raised my hand. This wasn't televised. I asked you a question. I said, when you're going from one market to the next, is it difficult? So let's say you're in Knoxville. Can you easily go to Memphis or Nashville? How does that work?
Absolutely. It's a hub and spoke model is how we like to think about it. So when we do have a person in, let's say in Knoxville, Tennessee, our expectation is that they're actually going to be covering Memphis, they're going to be covering Nashville, Tennessee, they're going to actually be covering that whole region. So Tulsa, Oklahoma is one, they're actually covering that entire area for us. And we've seen that growth wherever we put salespeople in these tier 2, tier 3 media markets.
And just to make this crystal clear for people, because again, Mark, we know this business pretty well because I'm in media, but
I live in it.
So when you say, we're going to go from one market to the next, it's adjacent, that's important because these advertisers are selling local goods and services, right?
That's right. Yeah, what we saw when we first started the company was that local regional advertisers is still a highly fragmented market. And it's the main street advertisers is how we like to think of them, your regional and local entrepreneurs who are looking for tech-enabled services. So being able to have someone in that local market that they can see, touch, feel, and know that they understand their region, their market, their industry is a critical part of the positioning. And so that's the reason why we feel like those local boots on the ground, even though we're in the era of Zoom and conference calls online, people still like to shake hands and see someone eye to make a deal.
Makes sense. So now, Mark, when we talk about ad tech generally, are things evolving? Because I remember learning about how all this works about 10 or 15 years ago, and to me it was, and I think some of our viewers are going to feel the same way. They're going to say, wow, I didn't realize there are these high-speed auctions going on every time an impression is made upon me. Are things changing much, or is it sort of the same as it was 10 years ago?
No, I would actually say it's going through a very large change right now. Google has announced that they're going to be deprecating the cookie to protect user privacy, and that's actually been announced to actually start as of January 4th, and it's going to evolve all the way through where they're going to completely go away by Q3. That's going to be inside of the Chrome browser. That's going to actually be a big shift for the entire industry, because that is essentially, is the best way to put it, has been the currency that most people have been trading on. And then when it comes to measurement and trackability, that is how people have been able to measure and track. So now that you're going to actually get rid of the cookie, if you will, it's actually going to disrupt, and so you're going to have new players and new entrees move into the market, and then you're also going to see probably some shifting in the marketplace as well based upon that change.
Now, Mark, I'm just thinking out loud here, but my guess is that because of your focus, particularly with the multicultural publications, the cookie thing might not matter that much to you guys, because you know that you have readers who are interested in whatever content the publisher is producing. So is the absence of the cookie bad for you guys, or are you going to be okay?
No, I think one of the things that our company has done is we've been prepping for this for the last year, and specifically in Q4, we started taking steps to automatically change our platform to adjust for this change, which is coming on in 6 months. So through the next, from now until, till it actually occurs, starting in the middle of Q3, we're going to be prepared for that, and those are some of the changes that we're actually making today.
Great. All right, Mark. So one last question. What's next for you guys? And this is a fascinating story. I obviously love the story. But what's on the radar for you guys? And anything new coming up?
Yeah. So the big thing we have for us is really start focusing more on our operational performance. So we're still investing in growth. We're still investing in the change and cookie deprecation that's actually occurring. Those are the two big things that we're focused on in 2024. And our goal is really to keep continuing our growth story, maintaining profitability, and keep growing for 2024, hopefully through 2025 as well.
All right, Mark. Well, this has been terrific. Thank you so much for joining me here.
Thank you.
This is Mark Walker, who's co-founder and CEO of Direct Digital Holdings. This trades on NASDAQ DRCT. I'm John General, signing off from Orlando at the ICR Conference 2024.